Hello, welcome to the Rankers. My name is Kyle Wright, and with me again is Stuart McPhee. How are you tonight, Stuart?
All right, you son of a bitch, I am great. It's good to see you, as always.
Yeah, very good to see you as well. We're here recording on the 23rd of April, 2026 for prosperity purposes. We're here tonight because there is something coming up that I find very interesting, and it sort of piqued my interest as towards the theme of the next couple of podcasts, and that is they are coming out with four biopics, so of each Beatles member. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work, but from my understanding, it's from the perspective of each Beatles member from, I guess, from the start of the Beatles through to maybe even post-career Beatles. So it got us thinking that perhaps we should do a podcast on our top five biopic movies. So I'm pretty excited about it, Stuart. What about yourself?
Yeah, musical biopics. It's definitely a mixed bag. There are things that can go really right, and then there are some that can be absolutely horrible. I mean, it's always in the eye of the beholder, obviously.
Mhm.
But I think the other thing with particularly with musical biopics, but I guess the same can be said for any other famous person, is you get a combination of dream casting. People have certain ideas, but the of what that actor or actress should be and how close they resemble. But then you've got the other issue of do you just have them mime it, or do you have someone who can actually take on the vocals of the singer? So there's a number of issues, I think, with musical biopics, and I don't think you can even in our, well, certainly my five, there are always things that will be flaws amongst it.
Mhm.
But it is an interesting genre of film. What do you? What I think, but maybe before we get on your thoughts, I or about musical biopics in general, you say it piqued your interest, the upcoming Beatles ones. What are you looking forward to, and what are your concerns going into it?
For the Beatles ones.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's a great question. I think what I'm looking forward to most is looking at the relationship of Paul and John in particular, and
Hmm.
how their relationship developed over time, and whether the biopics are going to be brave enough to give a, like, because Paul's still alive, right? So I guess he has the ability to frame history how he wants to. I'm not sure um, how the rights are, whether he's a producer or anything like that, and just interested to see, you know I guess even if it is a bit, strayed one way, you're still going to see somewhat of what the relationship was like between them. And then I guess particularly the relationship between the band in those later years. I tried to watch the Let It Be documentary, but as someone who spent many, many hours in band rehearsal rooms working through songs, it was something that really didn't interest me. I got about an hour into the first of the three. I think it's three of sections of the Let It Be. I
Yep.
was just like, I can't watch this. This is what I spent most of my 20s doing. So it didn't really interest me that much. So what I'm looking forward to is that relationship between the members more, because I know a lot of the backstory of the music and how the songs were created and all that sort of stuff. So I'm more interested in the relationships. And the thing I'm really excited about is how they're doing four separate movies. It's not just one big, like, 3.5 hour, Beatles movie. And how is it going to go? Is it going to be like, it's each movie's going to be like at the same pace and have the same events, but shown from each member's different perspective, or is it just going to be four separate movies of their own, with each band members, highs and lows of their careers going through that. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And as a massive Beatles fan, I really can't wait to see them.
Yeah, I'm probably opposite to you. I think this is a ridiculous project. I don't know. I don't
You,
know
you,
why.
you don't think it's interesting that they're doing it from the four different perspectives rather
Uh,
than just one Beatles movie per se?
I think it all depends on. how it all plays out. I can see them because it is such a rich text, and I won't take that away from the Fab Four. I think that the best way this works is if it is a essentially a 10-year period of the Beatles' history, which is essentially their entire career together,
Yep.
and a bit either side, and it is split up into two and a half. The first 2.5 years is from John's perspective, just say, or Paul's perspective, and then the four films in culmination. Because what would bore me senseless is if it's a 2 hour George film that goes from start to finish of the career, and then is it going to be weekly or monthly? These are coming out. I can't recall, but
Got no idea. Yeah.
they're all going to be released within a short period of time. And then you get to the Ringo one, and it's essentially the same 10-year period again, but it's just Ringo's point of view. I think there is a way that it can be done whereby you have one of the four as that central character in the film, but it is just that 2.5 year period. It doesn't mean that Paul and John aren't going to be in the Ringo one. They are. They just won't be the central thing. The issue with that is you can't clearly delineate of, oh yeah, that 2.5 year period. That's the prime Ringo years. It doesn't work like that. But yeah, I think what would seem boring to me is to go, okay, we cover off the entire career of the Beatles in one film from George's perspective, and then do the same from Ringo's perspective. That to me doesn't work.
Okay.
But look, I guess we'll see. From a casting point of view, that it looks pretty good. The four that they've got once again, and I guess we'll talk about it a little bit when we go through our own top 5 selections. You can never get someone who is going to be the absolute embodiment of a former musician. Probably Jamie Foxx and Ray aside, maybe. But we'll see. It's pretty hard because you, as I said, you can have someone who looks like them, but then are they going to do just an impression of them, or is it an interpretation of them? And sometimes you go with the latter because it's a richer text rather than just feeling like it's a Saturday Night Live skit. So, but yeah, I guess we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting thoughts. And either way, I think they're going to make a lot of money. These movies, that is that's one thing the Beatles have done. That what they haven't released other than a single since 1970.
Yes.
Yet they're still the forefront of any musical discussion. So,
absolutely. The word of caution that I say as we record this is that the Michael Jackson movie has just been released, and
I've heard some terrible reviews.
It's a steaming pile, and if anyone is the sole individual version of the Beatles in terms of manic hysteria over a good chunk of a decade, then it's Michael in the 80s. Now there's a million reasons why that movie probably won't work, but it is that cautionary tale. For every really good musical biopic, there's one equally, which is an absolute stinker.
I'll talk to it with one of my movies, but I think the only positives I've heard about that film is like the reenactment of his like major I guess performances, such as the first time he did the moonwalk and all that sort of stuff. So there is one particular of my top 5 where they did that really well in one of their movies. So I think that is the good thing of that movie. But of course, and I think it was the family that produced it or had a lot to do in it. So you were never going to get a deep dive into Michael Jackson the person. It was, and I don't mind it so much being about his performances, because despite what people may think of him as a person, there is no doubting what a sensational performer he was. So I don't mind that so much, and
Yep.
we'll I guess I'll make a judgment when I get to see it. So
Yeah,
um,
no,
yeah,
that's
but
fair.
I doubt it's going to be my top film of in our 2026 review when we do that at the start of next year's. But
Well,
anyway,
it's not mine because it's not a foreign film. So, as you take a sip of water, you can mull on this hypothetical. If you were to greenlight any musical biopic, one that hasn't been mined yet, um, is there one that you always wish there was a biopic version of a certain band or an artist that you could think of?
I think well, personally, obviously, an Oasis biopic is probably something I'd be interested in. I think the relationship between the brothers, in particular, would be classic film, and I don't think either brother would have an issue with the actual guts and glory of their relationship because that's what they lived on anyway.
Yep.
And of course, their massive comeback tour shows that there's still a want for Oasis. But if I'm not allowed to choose my favorite band as an option, I really think a local production of, say, a Silverchair um, biopic, from the early days, that Frog Stomp through to the, what was it, Straight Lines, or Young Modern, their last
Young
album,
one.
and
Yep.
then the interaction between the three of those, and then the post hiatus, which I guess is still ongoing.
Yes.
I noticed you mentioned in one of your social media posts that someone thought that Split Ends was the equal of Oasis's return, and you're like that. It's not even close to.
No.
Clearly, a Silverchair reunion is what I think most people our age, us late Gen Xers, is clearly a Silverchair reunion for the Australian equivalent.
Yes, yeah, I'll quickly point out it. Rolling Stone, lazy journalism. If you're going to make a comparison, it's it's a band that hasn't spoken to each other and been in the same room as each other for over 10 years. That consistently top the charts in their home country, and that is Silverchair. It's not Split Ends. As much as I'm looking forward to seeing them in a couple of weeks' time. So no, they're good suggestions for
Oh,
mine. Sorry, go
can
ahead.
I add one more?
Yeah.
Maybe again, staying local would be. I'd really be interested in like a Skyhooks sort of
Mm.
biopic. I think
Yeah.
that they were a very interesting band. Probably Australia's best ever glam rock band,
Yeah.
and particularly Shirley Strawn. I think he was on Better Homes and Gardens even post career. So and started his career as a carpenter, and that's where the Skyhooks name came from. So that would be another one. Sorry to interrupt you there, Stuart.
No, no, no. And I think that would be a good one. I'm just trying to think whether because a lot of the local artists they've always done like a two-part mini series on TV.
I know the Easy Beats did there was one on SBS about the Easy Beats, which was a really good one.
Yeah, and then
Um,
like there's been like Olivia Newton-John
mm,
and the likes. I think they're doing a Farnham one soon.
possibly.
But Skyhooks, yeah. Given that uh, the provocative nature of their costumes of the time and their lyrics certainly would make for good fodder from the 70s. Yeah, for mine, it's the project that probably should have happened about 20 odd years ago, and that's a Marvin Gaye biopic. And the guy that I thought was tapped to do it was the actor who was in, I think, the first incarnation of Law and Order, Jesse Martin. I don't know if
Okay.
you remember Jesse Martin. He sort of looks like Marvin Gaye, so that helped. And I was always it was one of those ideas of you could either do the cradle to grave idea or select a certain part of his career. There's a really fascinating part of in the late 70s where he's a bit adrift. He's living in, I think, the Netherlands for tax purposes, and he's starting to get his um, creative juices flowing, ready for what becomes sexual healing and that sort of period. So a later part would be pretty cool. Although pretty terrible ending to Marvin Gaye's life. But yeah, that was the one always for me. But let's select five each.
Just before you do, uh, you mentioned was going to be a possible production but never amounted to it. I think another one along those lines was a Janis Joplin biopic, which I think had Renee Zellweger, who was slated to play Janis Joplin, which never really got off the ground.
Yes, yeah,
Which would be another interesting one.
yeah, and there's also the of a similar ilk. I think they've maybe announced Cameron Crowe is going to do a Joni Mitchell biopic,
Okay.
and there's been talks on apparently Anya Taylor-Joy is going to
Oh
play
yeah.
young Joni. Though if anyone has seen, I think it's on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. Amanda Seyfried
Yeah.
performs doing a Joni Mitchell song. I think can't remember which one, but then plays with the sort of the lap guitar, and is absolutely great. And you go, well, that's clearly your choice. She can sing and she can play guitar, but I think they've gone with Anya Taylor Joy and maybe Meryl Streep for older Joni. But anyway, I
Very
guess
good.
we'll see. All right.
All right. I guess I'll kick off. This was my brainchild. So, my number five, I've actually gone. So, on my five, I have three in the 90s and two that are more recent. So, I've gone with sort of, I think that was something my dad really liked to watch with me, was those biopics of people he grew up with. So that's in my top three, but my four and five are rounded out by more modern ones. So my number five is Rocket Man. Have you seen that one?
I have not, no.
Okay, so Rocket Man is not necessarily a biopic of Elton John. It is a biopic, of course, but it doesn't follow the regular formula of a biopic. Slating through the life. It's actually sort of like there's some not fantasy, but like dream sort of elements to it, and it sort of blurs the line between musical and biopic, which I found really, really interesting. So this one was in 2019. It has a 7.3 rating on IMDb, so not too bad. Directed by Dexter Fletcher, and the main stars are Taron Egerton, Jamie Bell, Richard Madden, and I think Bryce Dallas Howard makes an appearance as Elton John's mother. And what I really liked about this movie was, yes, it had those elements to his life, but it didn't focus too much on the ins and outs of his life. Like, it touched on those parts and obviously went through his alcoholism stage, but a lot of it was about his creativity. And it was really interesting that Bernie Taupin wrote his lyrics, and I don't know how many songwriters would go with the lyrics first and then turning it into the music, and just how interesting that was. And then I think his breakout performance was at the Whiskey A Go Go in LA, perhaps, and just how they did that whole transformation of him kicking out from the seat, and they did that in slow motion. So a really, really interesting film. Bryce Dallas Howard, I think, is fantastic as his mother. Probably better films out there, but this one really tickled my fancy as an Elton John fan. As alert to a previous episode in our greatest hits, really like those Elton John songs and really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, right. And I think I had heard he sings the songs as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he does. Yeah,
because I think he plays one of the maybe is it the ape in the Sing movie, and I think he sings Crocodile Rock in that or something like that. So I think he'd been well versed on Elton John in terms of his voice, and that probably helping win him the gig.
Yeah. And not too much of a departure from his looks either.
No. So probably the right person for the job. Speaking of the Beatles, I've gone with for my number five, the 2009 film Nowhere Boy.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Aaron Taylor Johnson as John, focusing mainly on Lennon in his teenage years, and
I think I have seen that one.
How his relationship with his mother and his aunt, who I think is played by Kristen Scott Thomas, how that really informs him as a person, and the themes he'll later tackle as a songwriter. It also covers off the early days of the Quarrymen before they turn into the Beatles. Um, is it the kid from Love Actually? Thomas Brody Sangster plays Paul. Um, Probably not your first choice for playing Paul, but he is charming enough to, in terms of his on screen chemistry with Aaron Taylor Johnson, to give you sort of the origin stories of their friendship and what would become. I remember just being really charmed by it. I think also because, and this is why I have sort of a little bit of aversion to the idea of the four Beatles films, is that um, it almost feels like it's an impossible task that Sam Mendes, as the director of these forthcoming films, in terms of uh, tackling what I think is not necessarily a sacred cow, but um, it just feels like an elephant of a project. And how do you eat an elephant? It's one piece at a time. And I like that this just nibbles at those edges. It's the
Yeah.
tail of the elephant, so to speak, or maybe the trunk. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I,
The feet.
yeah, sure. It's
The
it's
feet
it's
of the elephant.
it's obviously not the first biopic that covers some part of the Beatles' history. In fact, one of them could also be in your top five coming up. But it is one that
Are you referring to Backbeat?
I am referring to Backbeat, but it is one that feels contained enough that I felt like I didn't need to, see the sequel to Nowhere Boy. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's my number five.
Nice. Great choice. Yeah, I do remember that movie now, having watched it, and I do remember you used a good adjective there, charm. It had a really good charm to it, if I'm using adjective correctly. All right, my number four is 2018 release, Bohemian Rhapsody. Again, not a... The actual story itself was okay, but, it was a bit cliche, if I've... but the performance of Rami Malek was excellent as Freddie Mercury. But for me, what gets this into my top five is the last half an hour of the movie, which is a recreation of I think it's the Live Aid performance at Wembley.
Yep.
And I've actually watched YouTube clip where they put the Bohemian Rhapsody side to side with the actual Live Aid performance, and they must have spent so much time like just making sure that it was like spot on, second for second. It's almost an exact recreation of that. And for me, that was like the best part of the film, and you had to wait 2 hours to get there.
Yep.
So that gets it into my top four. So directed by Bryan Singer, gets a 7.9 on IMDb. Also starring Lucy Boynton and I can never pronounce this guy's name, Willem Lee. But yeah, again, the story itself is interesting, and you find out enough about Freddie Mercury. But for me, it's just that last half an hour, the recreation of the Live Aid performance, which for me puts it in my top five.
Very good. Now, if I am not mistaken, classic Stew trivia coming up is that even though Bryan Singer directed the majority of it, he then, I think, had to step away from the film because of his own personal allegations against him. And I have a feeling Dexter Fletcher, who directed Rocket Man,
Oh, okay.
is essentially the uncredited second director of Bohemian Rhapsody. So he was on a bit of a roll, Dexter.
There you go.
After years of being in, was a Press Gang he was in, and also Lock Stock. Very good. Number four for me is Straight Outta Compton from 2015.
Yeah, that was just outside my top five.
Yeah.
Love that movie.
Directed by F. Gary Gray, who I think is a stable pair of hands as a director. He did things like The Negotiator and Set It Off. Friday, great comedy starring Ice Cube, so he's familiar with the subject intimately. Uh, the Straight Outta Compton is essentially about the formation and eventual dissolution. Not too much longer after the formation of NWA. We've got O'Shea Jackson Jr. playing his father, Ice Cube. Also got Paul Giamatti as I think he's the manager.
I think so.
Jerry
He's
Heller.
awesome in this movie.
He's great. I'm of the opinion that every movie is 10% better when Paul Giamatti's in it. He's just great.
Future podcast episode.
Sure, Giamatti Hall of Fame. Let's do it. Let's build it.
Yep.
And it almost feels like like the rap version of the MCU of an MCU film, because you've got because of their relationships with the West Coast rap community, you've got Warren G, you've got Tupac Shakur in it, you've got Snoop Dogg, and whilst I think there has been a Tupac biopic, maybe as a TV movie from memory, and there's an upcoming Snoop one, I believe. It's almost like this then becomes the tentacles for other. It would have been great if it was F. Gary Gray had directed all these films, and it was the same actors, coming.
So like its own universe sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So that would have been great. But Straight Outta Compton was, I remember distinctly going to the movies to see it, had an absolute rollicking time. And it was almost like it was one of the first bands, if you can think about, even though it's pre-internet, at the start of the 90s, it's this part of the modern media and the modern portrayal of bands where, and this is why, to your point, an Oasis one would be interesting in that there was always a lot of back and forth with the media, both in interviews but also in the music that they would release, particularly when they did their solo projects with NWA and also Oasis, I guess, in terms of just biting commentary back at each former band members, and how that then perpetuates this myth that we know because we're exposed to it in all the magazines we read in the 90s, and which is why we know so much about Oasis and to an extent your NWAs of the world, and because it was so prevalent in the media that you and I consumed. But it wasn't one of those ones. It wasn't to the point where I went, oh, that seems factually incorrect. That you always expect that in biopics there'll be stretching of time and a fictionalized account of something that actually happened in order to have creative license to tell the story. But I just remember really, really enjoying the hell out of watching it at the movie. So yeah, that's my number 4.
Yeah, you spot on with this one. Rap's not really my thing, and I don't know too much of who is it? NW? That's not NWA. It's
NWA.
It is.
Yeah.
So I don't see. There you go. That's my knowledge of rap music. But I actually really enjoyed this film, and it had a really nice pace to it the whole way through. And I found out a lot of stuff that I didn't about that West Coast rap and scene, and it got me on a Wikipedia sort of indulgent. But no, good pick. All right. I'm going way back to, hang on. Actually, I'm going to 87 for my next one, which is La Bamba.
Sure is.
So,
that's
been a long time. Oh, nice. Well, maybe we should save it and talk about it when you get to your number 1.
Sounds good.
All right, so your number 3 then.
Yep, now that I've spoiled my number 1. My number 3 is, it's a bit of a... left of center choice. It's a movie called One Night in Miami from 2020. So it is a biopic in the sense that it's actually about four different people, famous people. Only one of them's a musician, and it is all set in one night in a hotel room in Miami. So directed by the actress Regina King, based on a play. This is about a meeting in Feb 1964 between Malcolm X, Sam Cooke, the NFL star Jim Brown, and the just crowned world champion Cassius Clay, just the night after, I think the night of when he defeated Sonny Liston, or is it might be just the night after, I can't recall. But it is, he's still Cassius Clay. He's yet to change his name to Muhammad Ali. And it is essentially four men in the hotel room talking about their life to date and the conflicts and the struggles that they have with different things that they're wrestling with. Now we've already seen the Malcolm X biopic. We've already seen a Muhammad Ali biopic. I don't think either of those films captured this event. There is obviously a fictionalized or dramatization of the events that occur, and so we focus here on Sam Cooke as the singer, and the main thing that he struggles with is this back and forth conversation that he has with Malcolm X, in particular around this white boy Bob Dylan releasing this song called "Blowing in the Wind," and essentially saying to Cooke, "Well, you're supposed to be the voice of our generation in terms of African Americans. Where the fuck's your blowing in the wind? Why can't you write something like that?" Now, that is a dramatization in the fact that Sam Cooke had already been thinking long and hard about this, and he, in fact, had already come up in real life with his counter to blowing it in the wind. He doesn't need Malcolm X to tell him what to do. And Sam Cooke in this, played by Lamar Odom Jr. So for any Hamilton, the stage musical, any Hamilton fans, he plays Aaron Burr in Hamilton. Does a great Sam Cooke in this. And of course, his counter to blowing in the wind is a change is going to come. And the movie ends with him singing that on TV shortly after the events of what happens in this hotel room in Miami. And within, I think, about 10 months, Sam Cooke is dead in such unfortunate circumstances. Malcolm X is also killed. Cassius Clay becomes Muhammad Ali. NFL star Jim Brown is starting to become an actor and is a bit disillusioned with playing football professionally. And so it is, as I said, a fictionalized version of a pivotal moment in these four men's lives. It is really the only way we'll ever get a Sam Cooke biopic. I don't think you can tackle his life with the respect it deserves, which is why I think they haven't done the Marvin Gaye one either. Plus, the ending to Sam's life is not great. How that goes, and it's full of conjecture. So yeah, that's as close as you're going to get it. It's a really great character study, and you can tell it's a play because it is essentially set in the one room. But I really, really enjoyed it. So yeah, that's my number 3, One Night in Miami.
Excellent. Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet, so can't really comment too much on that one. But you've sold it well, so I'll check it out. All right. I've taken for my number 2 pick is probably, again, not a great movie as such, but one I grew up with, and one that probably the very first biopic I remember watching and had a lot of fun watching it. And it's from 1990, called Summer Dreams, the story of the Beach Boys.
This one?
So yeah, this one has Bruce Greenwood, who I always confuse with Dennis Quaid for some reason. So when I was looking this one up, I'm like, Dennis Quaid, Beach Boys movie, and he hadn't done I don't think he's done a Beach Boy movie. Anyway, so this one centers mostly around Brian and what's his brother's name? Dennis Wilson, and their relationship, especially with their father. And I think in particular around him being I think he was their manager at the very start as well, and how he kind of took their money or something like that. Anyway, and particularly Brian's relationship with drugs and alcohol. It touches on Dennis Wilson's mysterious death, where he dived off the boat and was never to be seen again. It also dealt with, was he that good of a drummer, all that sort of stuff with the Beach Boys. Also, the conflict between Mike Love and Brian Wilson. It covers Brian Wilson's fear of travel, which then ends up he stops performing live, all that sort of stuff. So a really, really interesting look into the Beach Boys' life. It also touches on not their conflict with the Beatles, but I guess their battle with the Beatles in trying to always one up each other, sort of thing. And it touches on Brian Wilson kind of going insane trying to write Pet Sounds, I think it is, and then touches on his musical genius that's involved with that as well. So a really, really fun movie. One that sticks out in my mind whenever I think of biopics. This is the first one that comes to mind. So Summer Dreams, the story of the Beach Boys, 6.4 on IMDb, directed by Michael Switzer, and really Bruce Greenwood is your main actor there.
Excellent. Yeah, and I can't recall, it was a TV movie, wasn't it? I don't think it was.
I think it was a TV movie, yeah.
And there seemed to be this, or at least there were TV movies here in Australia, but there seemed to be this sort of rash of, I say that as if it's a bad thing, but a fertile period in terms of these sorts of ones in the 90s. Because I remember there was a Jacksons one, like they focused on the Jacksons Five, and then there was the Temptations as well, based on their career. There seemed to be some really good ones in the 90s. But yeah, I certainly remember the Beach Boys one. Excellent. My number 2 is I mentioned him at the start, Ray, the 2004 film by Taylor Hackford. I reckon it's this, and then only because I can sort of guess what your number 1 is. And it's not Walk the Line.
No,
that's right. So I think Ray and Walk the Line pretty much paved the way for the what's the parody one called? Walk Tall.
Dewey Cox.
Yeah.
Walk Tall.
Walk Hard. Sorry.
Walk Hard. Yeah.
The Dewey Cox story, particularly the Johnny Cash one, but Ray, I think, was one of the other ones that sort of pushed us into this territory. And really, after Walk Hard, it was sort of, I think it took Hollywood a couple of years to have a bit of a breather before it started doing things like Rocket Man and Bohemian Rhapsody. But with Ray, Oscar-worthy performance by Jamie Cox. He embodies Ray Charles to a degree that if anyone is blinded, it's us, because I know, watching it in the cinemas the first time, it didn't feel like I was watching Jamie Foxx. It felt like I was watching archival footage of Ray Charles. It's not necessarily a cradle to grave. It's more of a cradle to resurrection of his career by the late 70s. So, just before Blues Brothers and Shake the Tail Feather. And from memory, he passed away maybe just before the film came out as well. But deals with what he was battling with in terms of civil rights from an external point of view, particularly with the way he was treated in the South, and his personal battles, particularly with infidelity, but predominantly drug use. Because I am a sucker for the history of music companies. You get Ahmet Ertegun and Jerry Wexler, who were pretty much the two guys who ran Atlantic Records. They appear in it, and it feels like it's not just a token appearance by those two. It's played by Ahmet Ertegun's played by Curtis Armstrong, and Richard Schiff from the West Wing plays Jerry Wexler, and you can really see their connection to Ray and what they saw in him in terms of why they wanted him to record for Atlantic Records and essentially be the thing that brought them into Atlantic into the 60s, and what got them all the other stars like Aretha Franklin and that on the label. So yeah, Ray, really great film. It's been a while since I've seen it.
Mm.
Maybe it doesn't hold up as much anymore. But yeah, really, really great performance by Jamie Foxx.
No, you're right. A really good film. I particularly liked the start of it and how they went about showing how he became blind.
Yeah,
That was really cool. I remember that. I really liked how you mentioned how it um, got into his conflicts. It wasn't afraid to get messy and dirty with Ray Charles's life.
yeah,
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they also there was a theme of African Americans were a bit off him as well for not being African American enough or something like that. I seem to remember that being part of the film as well.
yeah.
But
But particularly when he got away from doing the gospel stuff, and Sam Cooke and Marvin Gaye were also in this league. But so there was sort of one sector who didn't like him doing or getting away from spiritual music, and then when he started to blend the country and western and soul stuff, I think that's when a lot of them also went, well, you're just pandering to white people now.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, lost as much as he lost segments of his original audience. He then, you know, expanded his audience in other areas that weren't across him. So yeah, it does focus on that, and you're right. It doesn't feel like it pulls any punches. Um, I read a story once that apparently. He was given the script in Braille. The whole thing was done in
oh
Braille,
yeah,
so we could. And
that's good.
apparently, he only pulled up one or two minor points about something. But apart from that, he said, oh, you know, there's nothing else that I can force you to change here. But these 2 points, please correct the record on that. The rest go to town. So yeah, no, you're right. One of the very few that feels like it covers everything as much as it can. So yeah, no,
Yeah,
yeah, good film.
awesome.
So your number one,
Yeah, so you thought you knew what it might be. Do you want to have
yeah,
a crack?
I think it's also from the early '90s, and I think it is a film by
Yes.
Oliver Stone.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's if I can announce it for you, it's The Doors.
It is The Doors. I may have mentioned this to you before. My all-time favorite biopic movie. I know you mentioned at the start about fine line in biopics. With whether you go with the actor that looks like them or the actor that might sound like them. I think Jim Morrison here nails both. Obviously, Doors were well and done, and Morrison was well gone before I was, well, maybe not born, but before I started getting into music. So my first real experience with getting to know the Doors was this movie. I think Jim Morrison absolutely,
Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer absolutely nails Jim Morrison here. From any video that I've seen of Jim Morrison, any interviews, he nails the essence of Jim Morrison here. As far as I know, he sang all of the songs as well, and this film also really gets into that doesn't portray Jim Morrison as like a good guy. Like it does get into the parts of him that weren't so great. His mistreatment of women, being a bit standoffish to his bandmates, all that sort of stuff. Actually, being quite mean to them in stages. So I think that's really good. I think it is The Doors. It's not Jim Morrison, although he is the focal point. Gets really tells a great story of Ray Manzarek and how he had to try and keep the band together. And at sometimes Robbie Krieger and John Dunsmore, I think he's Dunsmore. They're kind of left to the side at points, but then one of my favorite scenes is when they're working out "Light My Fire," and I think it's Robbie Krieger's got an idea here. It's not one of your out there songs, but it's got this, and then they kind of Jim says, "All right, go away," and then come back, and he's got all the lyrics for it and all that sort. And Ray gets a keyboard section going. So really fun movie. It also touches on his relationship with, can't remember her name, but actress, the character played by Meg Ryan as well, who's in fine form in this movie as well. And even like the LSD, like the psychedelic scenes, that they're not way out there. It's all Oliver Stone's done a great job of just, connecting it all and telling the story of the Doors. And oh, as you can tell, I just love this movie.
Yep. And if it wasn't for the Doors, we don't get Wayne's World 2, or at least the Del Preston character, who is my absolute favourite character from the second film. But no, yeah, and the fact that I'm always impressed when, not so much when an actor does two things in the same year. I mean, although that's pretty impressive, but when a director can do two films in the same year. So yeah, Oliver Stone rips off this and JFK, or they're at least released in the same year, which is still pretty phenomenal because a director of that caliber will be hands on with everything. And I remember Spielberg doing it with Jurassic Park and Schindler's List were both in the same year. But yeah, given also Oliver Stone, this felt like it was out of his comfort zone as a director because he'd done things like Wall Street and was it Platoon he did as well.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, but the Doors, if you're going to think of any iconic bands that sort of epitomise the counterculture era of the Vietnam War, then the Doors made sense. But it's sometimes you can have a really great director and they just can't do musical biopics. And but I think he nailed it. And yeah, you're right, Val Kilmer. He's done many great performances, but you'd almost have to say that's his peak in terms of what he was able to achieve. But no, great film. Which leaves us with La Bamba from 1987.
It's your number one, so you speak about it, Stuart.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's probably the biopic that I have seen the most. Makes sense because it is the oldest of all the ones here. And I think it works for a number of reasons. First of all is Richie Valens wasn't a well-known person when they did this in the 80s. So that often helps the more obscure. I mean, if it was a biopic of the Big Bopper, I think that would be even more obscure. There had already been the Buddy Holly story where Gary Busey plays him. I think that was done in the 70s. But we do get Buddy Holly towards the end here, obviously, because of the fateful accident that occurs.
Well, there's the universe you're looking for there, Stuart. You got Richie Valens, Big Bopper,
Buddy Holly,
Buddy Holly, Bill Haley, even Jerry Lee Lewis. So
yeah, there's I'm just trying to think. Is it Eddie Cochran?
Yes. Yeah. He's played by Brian Seltzer in this one.
Yes, yeah, Brian Seltzer. Yeah, correct. But Lou Diamond Phillips is great as Richie.
Oh, he's fantastic.
Even though the real life Richie is a little bit more portly, but Lou Diamond Phillips is winning. His layabout brother, played by S.I. Morales, who I think we last saw
Mission
in
Impossible.
Impossible. Yep. As Bobby, to me almost steals the film. He's great, even though you just want to throttle him. The fact that they tap Los Lobos to essentially do the Richie Valens voice and most of the music for the film help kick off their career as a musical act. I proudly own the first two Los Lobos albums on vinyl. They're absolute crackers, and I think it helped open up for my mind that sort of that Southern Californian Texan Mexicali sort of sound for me. Joe Pantoliano as the manager's great in it, and it's I think it only spans is it 10 months or something like that?
It's not a lot. Buddy Holly's career itself, I think he was 21 when he passed away. I think his career was 2 years, and Richie Valens might have even been younger.
Yeah, I think he was 18, 19 when he
18
died.
or 19, yeah.
yeah, so it packs a lot in of what is a very, very brief career. And sometimes they're the ones that, as I mentioned with Nowhere Boy, it's the start of something,
Mm.
but because of his very short life, means that you're getting, it's almost like a two for one, if we can be sort of macabre about it. It's you're getting the origins, but you can wrap it up quite quickly because there's little else to show, which is, and I know they've tried it a couple of times with Jeff Buckley. It's a similar sort of thing. It's almost like a moth to a flame in thinking, well, we can easily pack this story in and not feel like you're missing vital elements out along the
Mm.
way because it is such a contained period. But what are your memories of watching La Bamba?
Yeah, you touched pretty much all of it. Again, um, much like the Beach Boys one I mentioned earlier, one I grew up on. I think just Valens is just he radiates through the screen, through the whole movie. He just it's like he goes full throttle into his character, and he does such a great job, and just carries the movie all the way through. It's got a great pace to it. I think because a lot of their songs, in that period were like 1.5, 2 minute songs.
Yeah,
Fast riffs, and the movie kind of has that pace to it.
yeah,
And he does the relationship with his girlfriend, pretty well as well.
yeah.
Yeah, and you get hints of Buddy Holly and Big Bopper and all that throughout the whole thing as well. And I think was it he like conflicted with his father at the start about his career or something. I can't quite remember. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I think there's that part to the start of the movie as well. So, yeah, just an awesome film.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's like I said, one I keep on coming back to every now and then when it's ends up pops up on a streaming service. I'll can't help myself. I've got an hour and three quarters. I'll check this out.
Why not?
Why not, Deep?
All right. Cool. All right. Well, there you have it, everyone. There's the Rankers top five biopics. Let us know what you think. Of course, if you've made it this far, we'd love to see you subscribe to our YouTube channel and Apple Music, and we're also on Spotify and any other places you get your podcast. Anything else you want to finish on there, Stuart?
I guess just sort of preempting what the next episode is. So we're going to
Yep.
continue with the Beatles theme. We're going to foolishly try and tackle our 20 favourite Beatles songs.
Yep.
We're probably also worth preempting. Kyle is the aficionado here. I am Beatles agnostic. Can you be Beatles agnostic? I don't think you can.
I think there are some people out there who aren't massive Beatle fans, and I always struggle to understand why.
Well, it's a wonder our relationship has gone this long. I'm not as up on or as enamored with the Beatles as you are. But
Hence, it's taken you so long to come up with your list of 20.
yeah, which is why we're not recording that tonight. And give me a few more days to see if I can justify sneaking Rocky Raccoon into my top five. But no, looking forward to the discussion. I reckon we will have some overlap, but I think we're also going to have it's a broad church, the Beatles. Adam, so
I guess I'm most interested in seeing your ratio of early Beatles to later. Well, I mean, if 6 years is later, later Beatles, I guess sound in your top 20. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, without giving too much away, I don't think there's much from the first three albums from memory. Yeah, but we'll see.
We'll see.
All right, mate.
Thanks for sticking with us, and we'll try and get that episode, or this episode, and that episode out to you as soon as possible. Any final words there, Stuart?
No, over to you, sir.
All right. Well, just remember, you got to keep them separated. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Yeah.